this is Ollie from 99040N, and I'm here to do a Worlds Auton explanation video. And this is the fourth part of my little series. And in our division of Worlds, I said in the first video, our AP was third highest behind Worlds finalists and Div finalists, so our Auton worked pretty well for us. So this is our Auton.
Yes, they scored one! Yes! Yes! Come on, 6! Yes! Yes!
Okay, so starting off, at the very beginning, we score on the alliance stake. And we want to, and I do this through LB2 function, and I block the main thread with this because I don't want to move while I'm scoring it because I'll miss. 800 milliseconds leaves a little bit of leeway if the motor takes a second to move, which sometimes it does. And just having these custom parameters makes it very helpful to tune. So once we're here, it scores it, and then we instantly turn. While we're turning, we move the wall stake back up here. It runs in the background. So then we raise the intake, spin the first stage, turn and move there. We go there slowly. Max speed equals 50. And of course, this is with lemlib, so that we can get this top ring over here. Okay, and then to help grab this ring, because sometimes if we're backing up, we're not spinning the second stage, it'll just like go behind. I guess it'll just like fall out. So spinning the second stage helps grab it and make sure we have it. And then, so let's see, we stop spinning the second stage after we've moved 5 inches towards the goal here, and we move to the goal at 80% or 80 out of 127, I guess, percent speed to go here, or 80 voltage pretty much. Okay, and then this is my auto clamp task. So essentially what happens is so I'm going to this point. Actually, I should be 2433, but it doesn't matter. So I move to this. I'm telling you I'm going to this point, and then I want to, if I miss, move 4 inches back, or 4 inches in the negative direction, and that negative X, and then 4 in the positive Y. If we miss, but then when you try, and then we use a distance sensor to pull for when the goal is ready to be clamped. And I say when we're 30 inches, when we've moved 30 inches from our starting position, then you can start looking to clamp it. And the reason we do it after 30 inches is because that's when we've started to decelerate, and we can, if we clamp then, it won't throw out the goal. So that way, if you see, we pick up, we don't have to spend any time clamping the goal after we moved, and that helps just cut down time. So we turn and move to get these rings over here with the doinker. Now we actually initially tried to curve, like just bring the whole robot to get these two, and I have a video of it, but it did not. We went to a scrim with that and it didn't go so well for us. So we went like that, and we crossed. So what a tragedy. And we wanted our Auton to be very safe, and I'd rather not cross at all and just lose one ring consistently. So that's what we did for Worlds. And actually it worked out pretty well. So, and because of that, prioritizing safety means that we never cross during Worlds, and prioritizing consistency means that we always got the alliance stake, we always got at least 2 rings on this mobile goal, and touched the ladder except for one time. So, okay. Move, go to that point. Okay, so now we want to back up after we get this in a straight line, because that and then let go of the ring over here and go here. So I kind of, in Desmo's graphing calculator, I like plotted where this is, and the Y value I wanted the robot to be in, such that when it stops, it can just turn and go straight and get both these rings. And I plotted that point so that we could back up in a straight line, so it's very efficient. And then while we're turning, let's see. So, actually, no, when we stop, we wait till we finish moving, then we let go of the doinker. And pistons take a second to actually actuate even after the code. So technically it stopped, like it pulled back here, although it's passive. It stopped pushing here, but then and during the middle of the turn, it actually lets go of the ring. And then we turn, min speed. This is because this sets a minimum speed of like 30 volts or whatever, so that since we're kind of close, we only have to turn it a little bit. The robot will normally turn pretty slowly, because that's just how PID works, at least for how I tuned it. So I set a minimum speed so that it still goes pretty fast and doesn't slow us down. And then we get those rings, whatever. And then we intentionally have it where the robot is hitting this blue top ring this way and not towards the corner, because if we were to hit it towards the corner, it would bring it with it, and then it would intake it, which, although our ring sort works, we want to minimize the amount of opponent rings that we get. As well as sometimes if we push this ring into this corner, it messes up the corner, we can't get these rings of our color. And then we put the wall stick arm out over the corner, because sometimes it saved us once where like a ring almost fell out, but it keeps the rings from falling out and get like the opponent's color ring, because that'll get us a minor violation, which makes us lose Auton. And then once we're in the corner, so initially I had some problems like making it back up straight, because the points were different every time. So what I ended up doing was just making it go in the corner as much as it could. And then once it's done with that, you can get the X position chassis.getPose.x. So I just get the X and Y and I say, okay, move, so I say like move this way, which is positive X, positive Y. So it moves 4 inches both directions that way, just backs up well. And then we do the same thing from where we're in this position, and then we go forward. When you do this though, you have to make sure you wait until you're done, so that these points are where the robot is settled and not while it's moving. And then another con of this is you have to make sure that you're all the way in the corner the first time, because if you miss, then everything else will just be off. And then we have our ending here, where if it's not elims, which we pass this variable through our Auton selector. So if it's not elims, we put the wall stick arm up and we go touch the ladder. And while we're moving there, we spin the first stage outwards. Well, after we move 20 inches, we spin the first stage outwards, because there's like a ring here. Sometimes there's rings in our way that we could intake, and we don't want to score them as a top ring on our goal. So we outtake the first stage and we intake the second stage. And the main reason that we actually did split intake is because it allows us to make sure to score rings of our color, not opponents, in Auton, because through every part of the season we learned through game analysis that like winning Auton gets us really ahead, because we have a full goal we can put in the positive, we get +6 points. At some point it didn't really matter at Worlds, because there's like so many like tier 3s you could just get dunked on, but it was still really helpful. So also, although we do have the wall stick arm up, I think we put it down. Yeah, so I put the wall stick arm down at the very end as well, because it's just one less thing the driver has to worry about. When he starts, he's put the wall stick arm down, and whatever the doinker is, stuff like that, just makes it easy. And then otherwise we would rush towards the corner. Now, this is just, of course this is a video of the Auton working, but you have to consider that this is not going to happen all the times, or maybe even most of the times. So here is a video of another match we had at Worlds. and this is the Auton ring. So we always get this. But here you see they got to the stack before, so these rings are kind of not our color. And then the thing with going in the corner is I think that we were kind of off when we went here, so that when we pushed in, we were able to get in the corner, but we weren't in there for enough to grab the bottom ring, so that when we backed up, we didn't get the bottom one. And that means that the next one we got is our opponent's color, but our ring sort helped us so that we still got this one. And normally whenever we got like a 1+2, the rings that we always got were preload online stake, this one right here because no one touches it, the robot knows where it is pretty well because it's the start of Auton, and this one because it's just such a safe ring. Okay, there's a couple things I forgot to mention. So for my Autons, I like to organize them with comments, just grouping the actions or what I'm trying to do. And this is actually helpful when I'm like first outlining what I can do. I can just write all these comments and fill them out later, as well as it's a lot easier to locate and change stuff if you have these comments and you have them organized compared to just a really long line that you have to decode if you come back to them later. As well as when I start at an angle like this, I set the theta or the angle that it's at to something that we tuned so that facing like forward aligned with the tiles, maybe like lined up with the wall, is still like 90 degrees or 0 degrees or whatever. And that way the X and Y's are really easy to tell just from like the Y being this direction with the tiles and the X being like this direction. Another thing is that also allows you to, so this is our red ring stack Auton, and the only thing we really have to change between the red and the blue one is we just change the, like, make all the X values negative, or the negative ones positive. And then of course there's like a little bit of tuning here, like adding like 2 here, like 2 inches here, 1.5 inches there, but that's, and then that's the main framework of it, and that's really helpful instead of like rebuilding the whole Auton from scratch or whatever when you're just changing the color. As well as I wanted to mention that with odometry and turning and moving, you want to keep in mind the center of gravity of the robot, because that is, so the center of mass, because that's where it turns from. So in this skills winner worlds, our last Auton skills, the gold clamp, we've like a little switch that we can use to like can disconnect the air from the gold clamp, which is helpful for like tuning and whatever, but it kind of just like unswitched itself when we put it on the field somehow. So that ended up causing us not to get the goal. Normally we would just follow this path and get these rings like this, but since we didn't have this goal, our center of gravity, when normally it would be like here, it's going to be like in the middle now, normal. So that means that when we turn and when we move, it's going to be off. So we don't run into this ring, we don't get most of these rings, because our center of like turning is different. And as we go, actually it gets this goal, which is pretty surprising, but how it moves, it's generally pretty off. And like throughout the season, it's just really helpful to keep in mind that your movements are also turned to the weight in the game objects that you're carrying. Thanks for watching. I guess ask any questions you have in the comments, and good luck and push back.
Yo, they missed. They missed.
早上好，中国！现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋，这是速度与激流。冰淇淋，速度与激流。